Welcome to ScryBabies podcast. I'm Louis Stardust.
I'm Tori the Best.
We're in like a little bit of a different space today because we got three salty boys here. Woo! Today we're going to be joined by the Howling Salt Mine podcast. I'm going to let them introduce themselves, but I'm going to talk a little bit about it, probably poorly. It makes up of Mike, Tony, and Sam, who are three individuals who are not only really fun friends, but they make really good content too. They have over 100 episodes now.
Yeah,
Crazy.
we have 100. Oh gosh, if
By the
this
time
is
this
coming
comes out,
by the time this is coming out, maybe like 135
In
or
which
something.
they dissect salty stories through magic, kind of like a Am I the Asshole Reddit thread, but more for magic things and more upbeat and fun. So we're going to talk to them about their experience with magic and get into the history of that and what the future holds for them. But before that, here is a word from our sponsors. We'd like to thank TCG Player for sponsoring this episode.
TCG Player is your one-stop shop for all TCG needs, whether it be Magic the Gathering, Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh!, Flesh and Blood, you name it, they got it.
We've had so many sets come out this year, so if you want to pick up any singles or sealed product, there's been so many things already. We've had Fallout, Assassin's Creed, if you're looking for more Universes Beyond stuff. Of course, we have the brand new Foundations that came out, not to mention Bloomburrow, Duskmourn, so many things.
Modern Horizons 3, all the cool stuff.
We're always forgetting at least one, and it's MKM each time. But there are so many sets. If you want to pick that up, you could do that. It's also a great way to pre-order some stuff. So if you're looking into 2025, I'm not sure what's available yet, but I know the first set is going to be a remaster set, which is
Innistrad! And then on Valentine's Day, we're going to have Aether Drift.
It's the best Valentine's Day gift. So if you wanted to pick up some products for yourself, whether that be singles or sealed product, then TCG Player is your one-stop shop. And we recommend checking them out with our link in the description down below.
Thank you, TCG Player. We love you.
We do love you. And this episode is sponsored by Dragon Shield.
Dragon Shield is the best way to keep your cards safe from coffee, icky fingers, anything that can damage your cards. Not with Dragon Shields. Keep them safe.
You keep them safe.
Secure.
We just talked about a bunch of cards and how you can buy them, but if you do want to keep those cards safe, this is definitely the way to do it. They actually have a ton of new products available. Right now, I'm holding those anniversary sleeves. We showed off a bunch of different ones this month, including their Celestial collection, the Gremlins collection. I'm sure we're going to see way more happening in 2025, so if you want to keep your deck safe, check out Dragon Shield.
Today's featured patron is Kirsten Dotson. Thank you so much, Kirsten, for being a patron. It's patrons like you who make episodes like these possible.
Yep, you can get access to our episodes early, a bunch of cool merch, all that good stuff.
Hand-drawn tokens.
Hand-drawn tokens, things that we use in this episode. We had the guy sign some cards, so those are available on there too. And side note, we also have cool new merch.
We do. I can't see my legs.
That's right. Yeah. If you want to keep nice and toasty this winter, maybe just get some cool sweatpants for yourself. Those are available too. Okay, let's get into it. I said your names, but if you want to just like say your name, who you are, a little bit about you, not in relation to magic, like maybe, I don't know, a cool fun fact. You don't have to talk about work if you don't want to, but like something cool about you.
Social security number.
Yeah.
Mom's maiden name. The 3 numbers on the back.
Yeah, thanks, Louis. Thanks, Tori, for having us. I'm Sam from the Howling Salt Mine podcast. Like they said, we're a comedy advice podcast where we read salty stories. I don't know what my fun fact is. I love Marath. I have a cute cat named Zucchini, wife and a daughter. I'm a stay-at-home dad, and I podcast all the time. And I have my 2 lovely co-hosts here with me, Mike and Tony. Say hey, guys.
What up?
Hello.
So I'm Tony from the Howling Salt Mine. Yeah, I guess my fun party fact is that I can lick my elbow.
Me too!
Oh, no way.
Wait, no, this might be weird for you too. But I can too. My tongue is...
No. We need the comments really bad, please.
And if you join our Patreon, you can see that even more. No, you can't.
Yeah. More of that content there.
No, there's none of that content there.
Yeah, there isn't.
I'm Mike. Let's see. My fun fact is I can't lick my elbow. No, that's
Wow, that's a great fact.
I do have like a
Depressing.
So good.
shockingly small tongue.
I did not know where...
Like the farthest I can get out of my mouth is this.
Oh, wow.
What the fuck?
What's it like to not be like me and Tony?
It's not as cool. It's not as cool. My corporate fun fact is that I used to do a lot of like really long canoe trips for like 40 days in the Arctic.
What? Where'd you go?
Yeah, nights. In none of it, Canada. Yeah. So we did like a river. We got like float planed in, dropped in, and then canoed for like 39 days out to Baker Lake, which is on like an offshoot off Hudson Bay.
I follow a lot of people who do those
Wow.
like big like trails like every summer where
Hmm.
they go across and that kind of feels like that for 40
Yeah.
days, right? Do you stop a lot of places or do you have like pre-planned like food and snacks and things? Like are you prepped to be on the river for a long time?
So the cool thing about like river trips on a canoe is you can bring like 40 days worth of food.
Whoa.
I
Yeah.
think we should do that as an episode. We
Yeah.
should go on a 40-night.
One of us will survive better than the other, and it's
But-
not me.
It's because you carry it in the canoe.
Yeah, because
right?
it's in
So
the canoe.
Like,
Yeah,
and
it's not like
what is
backpacking
it?
where you have to be.
Portaging? Is
Yeah,
that the word?
portaging,
Yeah.
where you carry it
Cool.
between lakes and stuff.
I've never heard, like, I've never met anybody who's done that. Mostly it's like the hiking stuff, right? So I think it's really cool. That's a good fun fact.
Thank you.
Pretty cool. All right, so we're
That's
gonna
how it's
talk.
done, Tony.
Yeah. I mean, your fun fact was lame too.
Mine was great. I have a cool cat and a great family.
Yeah, I love that for you.
I lived in Saudi Arabia. What do you want?
All right, it's past. We can't even get into that, you know.
The lore just never stops.
Speaking of lore, how did all of you get into Magic the Gathering?
I got into Magic because my older brother collected, which was, inspiring because I would see this art and think like that's awesome. And then I didn't really start playing myself until like Planar Chaos and like Time Spiral. So my understanding of the color pie was like just completely messed up from the beginning. And then it really took off when I started playing with like high school friends, and we would play like at the lunch table, like like on the bus to like races and stuff, like everywhere we could. And I've taken some like on and off breaks since then, but found it again when I was living with Tony, and then haven't stopped since then, pretty much.
Cute.
So I found Magic in college. There are these two guys that lived in the floor above me, and one day they were just like randomly playing Magic cards out on our porch, and we were like, "What's this?" And they were like, "It's Magic." It's like, "Oh, I've heard of that." And my roommate was like, "Oh, I have a Magic deck at home," and my other friend was like, "Oh yeah, me too." And I was like, Do you guys all play this?" So they brought their decks back after like a winter break or something, and we just kind of started playing like really shitty 60 card like kitchen table, very low level, terrible Magic. And then all of our friends caught the bug. Tony and I were in college together at the time, so we started playing Magic together a bunch. All of his roommates started playing, and then it just kept going. And then eventually, when Tony and Mike were living together, I really caught the Commander bug after being like obstinate that I would never play Commander. Because I played Commander a few times, and every single time it was like a fucking 3-hour game. And I was like, this format sucks ass. Like, this format's garbage. And then Tony was like, no, it can actually be good. Like, I swear. And we started playing. And that's when I met Mike, and we played with our friend Nick. And we've been playing weekly pretty much ever since for like, I mean, COVID really helped it.
COVID on, right?
Yeah.
COVID on.
Pretty
is
much
the real-
COVID from COVID on until now, we play weekly. So
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, so same deal basically. Like we met in college, I was playing I saw my roommates playing, and I was like, "What is that?" And he was like, "Dude, this is Magic and you want to play." And man, you have friends. I don't regret any of my friendships, but like my bank account would be very different if I never met that.
I
friend
say
and
this
never
all the
played.
time. I say this every time about how I got introduced to Magic because I started from like doing D&D and I collected Magic as a kid. But somebody offered me like money for a favor and I was like, "No, dude, it's okay." He's like, "I'll teach you Magic." And I was like, "Of course." I'm like, "I've spent thousands of dollars on Magic cards. I
Yeah.
probably should have just taken like the $20 you wanted to
Right.
right? Like, yeah, but I feel you."
Yeah. I mean, it was just for me, it was so instant. I remember playing one game, not understanding the rules, and being like, "Oh, I need my own deck now." Like,
oh yeah.
this is like, it was so instantaneous, But yeah.
But that friend didn't tell you to buy like borderless shit.
Oh,
and
no, no, no,
altars
no,
and
no,
stuff.
no, no.
A lot of
They
this is you were
simply
doing, man.
introduced me to the concept, and then that turned into like, well, the floodgates are open now.
He didn't
Whatever
make you
happens.
Mr. Borderless.
Yeah, no, he didn't. He didn't.
It's funny because I think our next question was just about
Yeah,
how
we
you
were
guys
gonna
met.
ask how you met, but you kind of
Yeah,
already
yeah.
already told us. So you all met in college.
I will take the credit though for being the glue between everything, because I was so in college. We all went to the same college, I was there. I was a freshman when Sam was a junior.
Yeah.
And then when I was a senior, Mike was a freshman.
Oh,
And
that's
so,
true. Yeah.
yeah.
So you were like phased out, and then like,
Yeah, I was just a little guy.
yeah.
Little guy.
And I'd been abroad for a bit. I came back. I was looking for roommates to live with. So Mike was one of those roommates. And then our other friend, Nick, who is like the fourth member of our typical pod, was playing Magic. And he kind of dragged me back in like after college because he was just playing at this random house in Somerville, in like the area where we live. And so I was like, this is cool, but what if I had all my friends? Like,
Yeah. Like
and
only
so
people I know instead of strangers.
Mike, like Mike was easy to pull in
Yeah.
because he was just there at the house.
Classic.
And then Sam was, begrudgingly like not into Commander at the time, but like
Yeah.
all it took was, a pot of your friends, and it becomes like great quick. Because I knew that Sam and Mike would hit it off, and like Nick and Sam already knew each other, so I just knew it was gonna
Yeah.
work. And so for us, I feel like it was a lot about finding the right pod.
Yeah.
That just has like sort of been in existence for a
They're also hand waving and saying, "Oh, we met in college, but we met in singing."
What? Acapella?
Yeah. So Tony and I sang together in a men's a cappella group at our college. And I've been
Is it
singing.
always?
Oh, really?
Oh, I know so many people that are like, yeah, I did acapella and like are into magic or improv. Like it's
Yeah.
always like a
Yeah.
theater, like
Well,
theatrical.
It's a
yeah.
but
pipeline.
a lot
Yeah,
of acapella.
the theater
people.
to magic
Yes.
pipeline is real for sure.
Yes.
So we met doing that, and we just became super, super close friends, and then stayed super close after college. And Tony and I have been friends for like 13 years, I think.
13, 15 years, something like that.
Wow.
Whoa.
How long I've known my wife -2 or something.
Yeah. She beat me by a little bit.
How long has it been for Mike then, knowing you guys then, years wise?
Tony and I would have met in 2014 or 2013,
Wow.
and then
Y'all.
I probably met Sam in like 2018.
Maybe like 2018. Yeah,
because that's
probably
when we moved in
2018.
together,
Yeah.
Tony and I.
You guys gotta do like an anniversary party or something. Yeah, it's 10
We
years.
should.
Yeah,
we
true.
really should.
Actually, that
We should.
You all have your own like looks and personality, but I feel like you all look like the way you smile. I'm like, you guys kind of look related in a way. Like you look so different individuality, but like when I'm looking at all three of you together and you doing this,
Wow.
I'm like, I could see this being like three brothers. Like you guys are so close.
It's
Is it
just
the
because the
matching
primary
merch?
color.
It's
It
the
is the
primary
wiggles that
colors.
we have here today.
Totally
We all
coordinated.
have glasses or facial hair or hats
Hats,
on,
yeah.
For sure.
I mean, Tony and I have been playing Magic together for so long. And then, like I said, during COVID, we had been playing, like, we had this dedicated pod, and we had been playing maybe once a month. We were able to get together at like Tony's place or Nick's place.
Yeah, because
right?
you only played in person at the time, right?
Yeah.
Like we had never done anything remotely.
Yeah, and I remember COVID hit, and we had started to experiment with playing online, and when COVID hit, we like all got webcams and got set up, and we didn't have Spell Table yet, but we had rest in peace. We had a Google Hangout Magic plugin that someone had made. I wish I could remember. It was called like MTG Remote or something, and Spell Table's cool. The Google Hangout was really
was
where
good.
it's at. It was a good plugin.
It didn't have card pickup, but you could look up cards for everybody
Yeah,
to
it was
see,
a shared,
which was really
shared lookup, which was the best part.
It was great because you would be talking about a card, and someone would be like, let me just look it up, and put it in the shared lookup, and you could all read it instead of being like, how do you spell that? Like,
Yeah,
It
I-
says
it was
planes.
good.
yeah, when
Yeah.
you click on spell table, yeah,
Yeah.
it's like half the time it's not even the thing, right?
I promise you, it's not a Caracas.
We should go
Yeah.
back. That was a good time.
Yeah, so then we just started playing. At first, it was like 4 times a week. Like, we were fucking fiends for it.
Oh yeah,
We were playing so much on webcam.
a lot.
Because we had nothing else to do, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, yeah.
Is this kind of like Howling Salt Mine's origin story? Is this where it kind of started, or how did you guys?
It's actually really funny. So we would coordinate our games through text, right? We had like a group chat. But Mike is an Android guy, so
Oh,
he
Yeah,
would
we
always
love
fuck
that.
up the chat
Yep, that
with
was
his
Ian.
inferior products.
Green's a
hashtag
better color
sponsored
than blue
copy. And then finally we were like, we need another solution, so we made a Discord, and then that just continued to grow, and we like made different channels for like deck brewing and talking about like casual or CDH or spicy cards and all this kind of stuff. Our patrons will recognize that a lot of these channels exist in our Patreon Discord. which is really just like the new version of our old Discord that we had, that we still have. And then one of the things that we had in there was a channel for salty Reddit stories, because there are these Reddit stories you encounter all the time that are like this person being like, I went out to my LGS, I was playing this specific deck, somebody played this Golos deck and they were blinking Golos and they told us it was a 7 and it definitely wasn't a 7 and they comboed off on turn 5 and we all got so salty. Am I a jerk for feeling bad about this? And we would just read them and kind of laugh at them and be like, man, this is funny. Like, is this, they're very entertaining to us. So we would share them a lot. And then I've always kind of had an idea for a podcast brewing in the back of my head, because a lot of people my whole life have been like, you got a voice for radio, you should do something. And
He does got a radio voice. What's a good one?
His voice is all right. We don't like to let his head get too big.
They don't. So I had this idea and I came up with the name Howling Salt Mine and was like, I think this could be something. And you guys were like, yeah, that sounds cool. And then nothing really happened. Then I went on my sister's podcast, which is called Let's Talk Nerdy. And she did that for a few years. And one time I was out visiting her and I just like filled in on an episode because her co-host wasn't there. And we talked about Thundercats and Captain Planet. You can look it up if you want to hear me talk about that. My sister-in-law heard it and was like, that was amazing. I don't even know what the fuck you were talking about, but you should definitely start a podcast. And I was like, well, I do have this idea. And I remember like the next week, Tony and I always do this thing where after we play online,
I hate this.
Nick and Mike are so quick to log off, and Tony and I aren't, and then we'll start chit-chatting, and then we'll just chat for like 2 hours.
A long time. A long time.
We'd be like, okay, good night, everybody. Everyone's like so tired, like done playing Magic. And then we'd log off, and then the next day, Sam and Tony would be like, so we were talking for another hour. And I'd be like, guys, let me out.
Every time we finish a podcast episode, we like turn off everything. We're like, all right, let's yap for 1 hour about everything that's happened in our lives, right? Like it just happens.
In the same chair.
Special Sam and Tony time.
I mean, the other piece to this is that like Sam had this idea and like I was moving away. So I was like moving to Michigan, and it was like what I love about this podcast for me is that it was a reason to stay in touch.
Mandatory
like,
Tony must talk to us
at
least once a week.
Yeah, and so like that was like what kind of pushed it to be like, yeah, let's do this, let's try it. Like maybe an episode never sees the light of day, but like whatever, it's a way to stay in contact with my friends.
Yeah.
Yep.
And how many years ago was that?
2.
2.5. Yeah, a little over 2.
Weekly, the same, right?
Weekly episodes. So the math on 130 or however many episodes we're at.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I guess at this point, it's probably at the time this episode drops, it's probably a year and a half or 2.5 years. We started July of 2022. Mm-hmm. So it's been a while, as they say.
And y'all said weekly.
Been a while.
Yes.
Oh, God, here we go. That's something the guys do on the channel.
Yeah, so if people don't know, like I sing the intro to the podcast. It's funny because like when we first recorded we recorded 3 episodes when we started because we wanted to release
a chunk.
3. We wanted to start with a chunk that if people liked it, they could sit and listen. And those first episodes they're rough. Like every year we have an annual tradition where for our patrons, we go back and listen to one of our
roast it?
early episodes, and then we provide commentary over it and we roast it.
Yeah.
Really, really fun.
Yeah.
So we started with, I like pulled together this theme song. I was like, I think I have this idea. It'll be like it's a Final Countdown like parody. And we did it.
I think I may have thought of the Final countdown.
I still Mike's
yeah.
credit right
think
I
Mike
don't
did
don't take credit for a lot of things in this.
Could you
but
cut that?
one,
I think I did it. So I had a great idea. So we put together the first 3 episodes thinking, actually maybe it's just the first one, thinking that we would just delete it and then like improve. And we're like, it's actually pretty good.
Yeah.
And it
Good
made
enough.
us laugh, which is really funny in hindsight because it's so
It's
like,
super
so
dry.
far from what we are now.
Yeah. But it's still great.
It's still great. It's very charming. And then the singing just slowly became like a part of the show because we have this segment called the Salty Card of the Week that we close every episode with. Mike surprises us with a salty card from EDH Rec Top 100. And then Tony and I try to guess where it is in the salty card list, and we sort of talk about it. And at one point, Tony was like, we need like a musical stinger to move into that segment. And Tony and I just started like riffing random bullshit. And then someday, I forget when, like our patrons know, it's in our wiki. There's like a specific date where
You
the
have a
songs
wiki?
start.
Yes,
Yeah.
patrons made it for
Patrons?
us.
Our patrons don't have a
Right.
wiki for us. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
Our patrons are our community is amazing.
So
we love
cute.
y'all out there.
We always
Love our
say we're
patrons, to be
very
clear.
sticky.
So we really
But-
love our patrons, to be clear. We
But
do
we
our
love
patrons.
ours like so much.
Yeah, we do love ours
we
more.
really love our patrons so much. This is what we have
And
to-
we really do. So,
We always say as a result, like we're just like a very sticky group. Like when people find us,
oh yeah.
they listen to like fucking everything.
Yeah. So many of our stories are like, I just got through binging your show in 4 months, and we're like, damn,
That's
that's
awesome.
a lot.
Yep.
That's a lot.
We just
So
have great chemistry, so I think it makes it very easily digestible too.
yeah,
I mean, we're just three friends hanging out.
just
Like,
three
that's
unfunny guys reading Reddit
Three
posts.
unfunny guys
Yeah,
reading
that was
Reddit
our
posts.
first comment that we got.
That's our
in
first
something,
negative
and it
comment
was
we ever
like,
got.
nice.
3 unfunny guys reading Reddit posts.
Yeah.
And we say it all the time
Yeah.
now.
First negative comment, also
Make
first
it a
like
shirt.
comment.
Yeah.
First things anybody said.
Yeah.
I think the vibe that you guys have that's really good though is like because you're all friends and get along and like there's no like awkwardness. Like as someone who listens to like listen to your podcast, listen to like other podcasts, like whenever it's like I'm just trying to think of a popular one to compare to, like Drew follow a Brittany Broski, like
Yeah.
people like that. You feel like when you're listening to that cleaning, it feels like I'm just like listening to my friends talk.
Yeah.
Or like I'm on FaceTime with my friends, like, haha, you're so right, guys. That's funny.
Yeah.
That's me listening to Howling Song Nightly. I'm like, yeah, you tell them, you tell them, Sam. You guys are so funny.
I'm trying to relate, and I'm like, I just listen to murder podcasts all day. But when I do it, it's like I like to listen to you guys because other than it being this is our friends, I agree. It's a very like comforting thing, despite being a topic that's not the most comforting to talk
Right,
about.
right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, I listen to a shit ton of podcasts. It's funny because Tony and Mike really don't listen to any podcasts.
Like at all.
Self-admitted.
None. Zero.
Like, literally
Except
none.
I do listen to you guys.
Yeah, other like creator podcasts.
Yeah,
but
yeah,
like
yeah.
before our show, listen to nothing.
I barely listen to them either until magic stuff.
Yeah.
I've
Yeah.
only listened to TED Talks. I'm not even
Dude.
I
Very
love TED
cool.
Talks,
Very
yeah.
informed.
Good,
Yeah.
And that vibe, I think it's important. Like you want to be like a fly on the wall in a room of like friends that are chatting. Because there's something about, I don't know, it's like it like hits you in like the parasocial relationship thing in like maybe a cool way where like there's some podcasts I'm a fan of where if I met them, I feel like I'd be like, yeah, I'm like friends with you
I
guys.
think that's such a, like,
as cringe as that is, I'm like, but I know
I
you
watched
guys.
the Megan Thee Stallion documentary with Modern on like last week.
Yeah.
And the whole thing she was talking about how she's so lonely and she doesn't feel like she goes to me. I'm like, we could be her friends. Like we would treat her so good. We would take her out to eat. She would have a fun time, and we wouldn't be shitty. But I'm like, this is the most like parasocial shit ever. But like
Yeah.
when you hear someone and you feel for them deeply, it's like empath, like like a true empath, not like I'm an empath and you're not. Yeah. Right? Like when you're empathetic for something like that, or you can relate to somebody, or like I can have a crappy day and put on the Howling Salt Mine podcast and laugh, or listen to Tori and like a funny, video on the internet. Like that's so relieving for people. And
Yeah.
something we talked about a little bit upstairs that I wanted to talk about now too is like finding the balance on like what stories to take and what things to talk about on your podcast, because it could be really hard. One, sifting through some of them, I can imagine, can sometimes be hard on the mental, depending on how heavy they are. But as a podcaster for your viewers, you want to give them it's not educational. What is it called?
Edumagicational.
Edumagicational.
Fuck
You
yeah.
want to give them something that's like a little bit educational that they can go for with, an entertaining story, but something that doesn't feel like toxic or overwhelming. So how do you find like the sweet spot in the salty? Yeah.
That was cute.
Well,
Yeah, it's good,
I
right?
think,
T-shirt. Everything's a
Sweet
t-shirt.
and
Sweet
salty.
sauce.
So merch.
I can give my perspective on it, and then Sam probably has the best because the element is we want it to also be like pretty real reactions for Mike and myself.
Yeah.
So Mike definitely sees some of the stories, but I generally don't see any of them until they're like read on a story.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I think that's the correct balance. I think
Yeah.
you have a balance like that works.
Totally blind.
Yeah, and so it's like I am generally totally blind. Am I generally always blind because I don't read any of the things beforehand? But I feel like it's evolved over time because it used to be
Yeah.
that we had to go find stories,
Right.
And now there's just, fortunately, so many that like
Right.
you
Listener
can't.
submitted stories. We get a lot now.
It's like a different dynamic now, and I think it changes from, you definitely screen some of them, but sometimes it's like, hey guys, I didn't prep any before this episode, and so we're reading 3 raw, and whatever happens happens, and we go from there. And like I think it's happened once or twice, but generally we've put everything on. But every once in a while there's a story where like this is just like not quite either written too poorly, sorry, or it's
Grammar,
like
punctuation.
yeah, like anything. Uh, or it's just like it is a heavier topic where it's
Yeah.
like, you know, our vibe is generally upbeat and there are important things in the world to talk about, but it's like through our podcast might not be the best avenue for that, you know.
For sure.
Like,
Yeah, and like Tony said, I used to screen the stories. Well, when the podcast started, all of our stories were from Reddit. So I would go on Reddit, find the salty stories that used to make us laugh and we used to post for each other in the Discord, and reach out to the person that posted it and ask if we could have permission to put it on the show, which is very important because sometimes they say no. And they're like, no, I don't really want that story out there. Like my friend that I was venting about might listen. It's like, cool. Well, you did put it on the internet, but whatever. Hey, it's cool. So I used to like really curate them. And then it was like the start of 2023 was when we did our first mail time episode. And that was like, I remember we had like 3 stories that were mailed into the show. And rest in peace to the mail time song. I used to sing a great parody of the Blues Clues mail time song that I really love to sing, and I can't anymore. But as
Wait,
the
why
show,
can't you? Is it
it'll go on
copyrighted?
the album.
No, it's
Well,
because everything's mail
single
time now.
episode is
Everything is
Okay. I was
listener
like,
mail
you
now.
got the big one.
So at a certain point, it just
Steve
flipped.
from Blues Clues
Oh my
is
God,
coming
can you
after
imagine?
us.
I'm still waiting for Europe to come after us for the theme song.
Sorry, you're giving it off like the generational Blues Clues vibes with like the different shirts and the different like where they all kind of look like they're
Your shirts look like face. Hi there, face.
Hi there, Face here.
see, it's all in. That's the branding. Howling Salt Mine Splat, not Splat. What's it called? Slime
The
T-shirt,
slime
like
splatter?
the splatter. Yeah.
That could be it. Maybe we'll get a season
They'll
desist
say
for
get
that.
fucked
The
fourth
merch
player, but
ideas.
it's
Yeah,
not
all the
right.
merch ideas.
So at a certain point, and I kind of forget when it was, like we used to sprinkle these mail time episodes in, and then they became more and more frequent. And then it became like every episode we had one one salty story that was listener mail. And then at a certain point, we were just like, it's all listener mail. And then at the start of this year, I tried to like get the Reddit stories back in, but the process of reaching out to people and getting them just became a little crazy. So now and then my wife had a baby, so now I just open up the email and I'm like, these 3, fuck it, and we
How
just read
many
them.
emails do you get? Like what would you say your inbox is at, or like how are they
We
weekly, monthly? Like how many would you
we
say
get
you get?
like 6 to 10 a week.
Yeah, that's great.
I think we have stories out through like the end of 2025. If
Yeah.
no one wrote anything in right
Yeah, we do 3 stories a week, and
now. So get them in now.
Yeah. So, and for a while it was like first in, first out, and I had them in a big document, and it got to a point where we had one episode where we were so very clearly reading stories from like Christmas time.
And it was summer. And we
It
were like,
was
this
summer.
isn't going
You're
to
like,
do
this
it.
system's not good. So now we fully randomize. And it's just become a lot more fun. So like Tony said, every once in a while we'll get a story that is like pretty heavy, and sometimes we touch on it because there's also something going on that's like gameplay related that we can talk about and comment on. But if the piece of salt is just that humans have the capacity to be shitty and bigoted and awful, that's not really like the vibe of a Magic the Gathering podcast, especially one where we want it to be like pretty lighthearted and an escape from those things to some extent.
And it's also not like the environment you create, right? Like when you sit down and play, like we had you guys with us all at MagicCon when we did the Learn to Play event. People were so excited to play with you guys, and they were so
Well.
like sweet about it. And it's because like even though you're talking about these heavy topics, you guys are so positive, right? So it's like it'd be different, like, oh, here's the guys that just like talk shit all day on like our podcast, right? Like you did your first live podcast show, which we'll talk about in a minute, which was really cool too. And so it must be just really rewarding to hear people who feel like one, they have fun with your podcast, but also feel like they learn things, or
Oh
like
yeah.
feel like they see themselves in somebody else that you're talking about.
Yeah. I think the whole point of the podcast being about like taking these negative like negative emotions and like reflecting on them a little bit and learning from it and like trying to be better in the future. Like it just gives us that space where like, yes, we're talking about something negative or sad, but like the point is for that to happen less in the future. So it like kind of
Yeah.
balances itself out naturally with
Right.
that.
I think that's one of like the most interesting comments that we get on the show. And when we first got them, we were very surprised.
Yes.
Was that people would be like, your show has helped me become less salty. And we were like, what? And they're like, yeah, I really like analyze my own behaviors and stuff. And we're like, really?
We're worse than our own pod now.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
get way saltier than I used to. No, not really. We are better.
But that's like an unlearning
better.
thing.
'Cause
To
Yeah.
like,
I was fucking bad. I used to get so
well,
salty.
that's
Holy
what I'm
shit.
saying. As a
Yes.
kid, I was such a like, I'm an only child too. So I was very, very competitive growing up. I wasn't good at it. I didn't do sports. I didn't do anything that would net me being a good competitive person, but I had like a competitive spirit, right? So I like wanted to do stuff. And so when I started playing card games and I was like winning, I was like, oh, this is good. I should like literally just be competitive about it. And then I would not be salty to people. I would try not to be salty to people, but there's sometimes where you're like, why am I getting so heated on a card game or like something else, right? Like it's a
Yeah.
lot to take in. So
Sometimes you
Out
gotta
of-
sit there and be like, it's just a game.
Yeah.
It's just a game.
Yeah.
I'm here intending to have fun.
Out of
I
curiosity,
should try to aim for that.
Out of curiosity, Lua, have you ever thrown a Blightsteel Colossus at anyone?
no, I never, no blight
Okay.
steals for me. I look
Just
like that
referencing
person though,
from an old
right?
story.
Yeah.
Okay, okay,
In case,
okay.
That happens.
in case you were the
Or like
culprit.
kicked a deck box or
Yeah.
something. Well, I mean, Tony mentioned it, but I'm definitely the saltiest person, or was. So another thing that was kind of like Howling Salt Mine origin was when we were playing weekly in COVID, we started tracking our games because we're all
yeah.
engineers, came from an engineering school. So we started tracking our games. I made this giant spreadsheet. We would enter in our commanders, our seat turn order, the turn we won, how we won, and we'd roll it all up into like individual win percentage metrics, win by appearance, win by like
Win by deck
seeding,
list, all those
win by
things.
deck list, all of these awesome stats. At some point, I forget who had the fucking idea, but
I think it was me. not gonna lie.
could be. I was getting so salty a lot. So we decided to start tracking who was the saltiest player in each game and rolling that up into a stat.
Yeah.
And
And it was voted on. Like,
yeah, it was
Yeah.
voted on.
It
at
was
the end of the game.
you?
Yes.
I thought it'd be Mike out of the three.
Mike is Mike is
I'm
the
silent.
chillest.
If I'm
Yeah,
I'm upset,
consistently.
he's quiet raging off camera, but like
yeah.
on like he's
Tony and I are the
Here,
saltiest.
I don't think you're like a salty whatever, but I think I just know chill Sam, like chill
Mm.
dad Sam, chill vibe Sam. So like I just would think that like
'Cause
you
I'm
might be a
different now.
shark. Like not like salty and like whatever, but I think you would just go like really, really hard. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, I do think of the three of us, I'm maybe the one that like likes the competitive piece the most a little bit. Like I've done a couple tournaments. I think that's true. But like I think I temper that with like not
You're balanced.
I don't get as affected when things go wrong, or when I do, my salty reaction to things is just shutting up and not saying anything and
Just,
like kind of
Yeah.
Broke
backing
down.
like
Yeah.
shutting down.
Mike gets quiet, you
Whereas-
know he's upset.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Or just like trying to think through Sisay math.
And
But-
Mike usually gets salty at himself,
Right.
like fucking up a play or something like that.
Right.
Whereas I get salty at you. So we had this stat, and like nothing makes you want to improve on your personal salt than looking at a number that's like, oh, I'm 25% salty.
And that's like
that sucks.
like-
That's 1 in every 4 games.
Yeah. which is a crazy, if you have that stat and you're realizing like I'm having a bad experience a fourth of the time or a fifth of the time, it's like, what can I do to find more fun in this game that I'm playing, presumably to always try and have fun?
Yeah, so we try to like laugh at ourselves a lot on the show too, which I think a lot of people like. And so it's not just us like pointing at other people and being like, look at all these people getting salty, we're so much better. Like every time we get salty in our own pod, we talk about it on the show because it's usually really funny. And and we're there too. We're also getting salty, and I think people dig that.
What is like the balance within your group, right? Like when me and Tori make stuff, like we have our own things divided for like career stuff. Like Tori's really good at doing a lot of like the digital assets and work, and like I do a lot of community building, right? There's more to it, right? What
Mhm.
does each person do for Howling Salt Mine? Like does somebody write a lot of the episodes out? I know some of it's like we're just doing some random shit. Is somebody like really on top of like merch or marketing? Like how do the three of you work within?
Yeah, I think it's interesting because we do have very unique skill sets to each other
Yes.
within like what we do on the podcast, and then also just like in life generically. And we kind of fit annoyingly well into each other. It's like I don't think we really could have made it happen on purpose. But it's like, I have a full-time job, Mike has a full-time job, and Sam has a full-time job as like a dad, and then also now with the podcast things.
Yeah.
And so it's like we're all just super busy human beings. There's like an infinite number of things I think we wish we could do. But we're just like gated by the fact that we're all super busy.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
Sam does like a vast majority of the editing and social media and
Yep.
that piece. We're all, a part of kind of like the community building with the Discord and stuff. Like we're all
Mhm.
jumping in and playing games with people and chatting with people in the Discord all the time. Um
Yeah,
and
that's a
then
big thing.
we've helped out, like Tony and I have both helped out with editing, mostly for things like giving you a paternity leave and
Yeah.
like if there's just like a week where we're trying to get ahead of some edits and things like that.
Which is also huge, by the way. Like we have weeks where like you may be traveling or I might have an event and we're like, hey, this week is really heavy for me. Can you take on something? But
Right.
like having me
Yeah.
like especially with that, which like it's almost like freelance. Like you're almost like a freelance career, right? Because you don't know what your week's gonna be like. It's different. You're dad, you're doing
Yeah.
other stuff. So having the opportunity to actually have a paternity leave, I feel like must have been so huge too.
Oh yeah,
Right?
it was definitely nice. I did miss the editing though, because I do love it. But yeah, it was great, and these guys definitely were super helpful. But I mean, when it comes to like the day to day, I mean, Tony kind of mentioned it. Like I left my full time engineering job like a little over a year ago now, and just started doing the podcast full time. So before that, it was like, I was doing most of the editing, but I was doing it like at night after working my job, or like just staying up super late, or like finding time here, finding time there. And as the podcast has grown, we've kind of, we used to talk about how great it would be if somebody could do it full time, and that was always kind of like a dream of mine to do like full time creative work, because I love to draw. Like I draw all of the tokens for the show. I do like the T-shirt designs and stuff like that. That was always something I really enjoyed doing. And then audio editing, I just happened to have like some hobbyist music making, like audio editing chops,
Yeah.
and knew what a good podcast sounded like, and I was like, I could probably replicate that. And it's just worked out pretty well. And since doing it pseudo full time, I mean, now I got the baby, but doing it full time, it's been crazy. It's been cool to see the growth of the show, and it's different when one person is just like, I'm gonna put all my time here and treat it like a job,
Right.
just to like see what can happen with it. Yeah. But like when it comes to our personalities and balancing the show, like Tony said, we have a really awesome balance for like Tony and I have background in like big project management. Won't get into the details, but like very large contracts and project management and stuff. So we have like really good business chops there. And I always say that Mike is like the heart of the Howling Salt Mine, because Tony and I will be like, well, I think we should do this because it makes the most sense. And he's like, we can't do that, guys. he's like, you didn't think about this, you didn't think about that. And we're like, yeah, okay, yeah. And you just have like a way with words with like revising emails or messages we want to send out or things we want to be sensitive about.
Yeah, I was sort of doing our like sensitivity edit for a while
Yeah.
too, of like, did
Yeah.
we say anything that, doesn't really align with how we feel about stuff, or like
I'm the most
Oh
sensitive.
my God.
We all know
Training,
it.
yeah.
Yeah.
You're doing media training, basically.
Yes,
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
like, guys, you can't say that.
Well, it's a hard thing because sometimes we want to be very authentic and ourselves on the show, but also sometimes we listen back and we're like, oh, like we were kind of like rude to this question asker a little bit here, like
Yeah. You must set a good example.
yeah, like we
Yeah.
don't, that doesn't need to be heard, or we make a joke. But yeah, like we want it to also be fun and have that vibe, but also we don't want someone to be like, I regret that I sent my salty story.
Right. These guys
You know,
ripped me apart. Like that's never the point.
Yeah. So that's when we turn off the mics and we say, this stupid motherfucker. No, I'm kidding.
It's to my stories every time I submit them once a week. Yeah.
Can I ask a question though for you guys? I'm curious, who's the hammer? Like when you gotta like be serious, yell at somebody, whatever that is, like between the two of you, who does that? Nice.
Story. I'm not good. I'm not good at like being strict about like so like if I feel like I need to get a point across, I think Tori's really good at doing it in a professional manner because I'll be like, this is fucking bullshit. She'll be like, hi, per my last email. Like she's really
Right.
good at
Yeah,
being that person. And she's also really good about setting a boundary or like removing something that doesn't make sense or doing this. Like she is the person to do it. I get too nervous or like shy or overwhelmed by the thing. So I love
that's
that I
me.
can like trust you to do that, but also make my points clear and like then she'll send it back to me. Like
She's
we work
basically
together.
calling me a bitch. No, I'm kidding.
Oh, yeah. I think we're both a little bitchy.
I'm the Howling Salt Mine bitch. So
You're
like,
from
Yeah.
Jersey too, though.
Yeah,
it's in our
it's the
blood. Like,
Jersey
it just is
thing.
literally
It's
it,
a
right?
Jersey Capricorn, raised Catholic. I'm like,
What's your sign?
Scorpio.
Oh,
there you go,
what about
there.
you guys? Hold on, just
I'm a
kidding.
Pisces.
Aries.
Oh, me too. When's your birthday?
14th.
10th. Wow, we're kind of the best ones here.
But yeah, Tony is like the podcast hammer. We always say he can be blunt where I can't. I like do not have the heart for that. And I also while I do the bulk of the work for the show, I get incredibly anxious about stuff. And Mike is really good at calming me down. So like
It's
we
gonna
just
be okay.
You have a good balance. I think
Yeah,
it's a
it's a
team
good
that's
effort.
how she
balance.
is with me because I'll constantly like overanalyze something.
Right.
Like we'll like play with people sometimes,
Oh yeah.
and I'll just make a joke, and then for the next 16 hours, I'll be like, did they understand my joke?
Yes.
Do
Oh
they
my
hate
God.
us?
Yes.
Do they think I'm the worst person alive?
Yes. Oh my God, Tori, I'm the exact same way.
Yeah, I literally like will be laying in bed. I'll be like, they think I'm mean.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to be funny. and
Maybe
they
I
think
am
I'm
mean.
But it's also like you have to create a balance where like, yes, I said earlier, like a lot that I do ask Tori to do, right? Or have conversations, but sometimes be like, I can take the lead on this one. Or I could do this so it's not just you. So Tori's not, like the parents, you're not the
Yeah.
bad guy, I'm the
Yep.
good guy. Like, or the same thing with like, maybe this week I can handle more things than you can, or vice versa. Like, I think we try to at least balance where we can. And we each have our own strengths that we work within. And we understand, like, that's your strength, that's my strength, here's our strengths, and here's when we can like swap some strengths, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I think that's important.
Yeah.
It's good to have like the creative balance, and we butt heads in some things, but I think it's like good because usually it forces us to like talk through how we're feeling about it and like come to a good.
And it's
resolution.
super
Honestly, I
convenient
love
that
being
there's
3.
Yeah, I was
Yeah,
about to say having
because
3
of
and
that,
not
like,
having ties is great.
Yep, it is incredibly useful to have 3 for sure.
Can you give us an example of a Howling Salt Mine episode?
Boy, can we? Yeah, so this will be fun. So I have a little salty story right here.
Put that there.
How'd that get in there? But yeah, I would love to read a salty story and give the little ScryBabs out there. What do you call your listeners?
We don't have a name.
we don't have a name for them because I feel like it's like believers sometimes, right?
No.
We
Ours are
jokingly,
prospectors.
we joke. You have a good one. It makes
Yeah.
sense. Like, what am I? Little babies, my children. Like, it's weird, right?
One time, I'll never forget when you were like, we can call them like the Scry tops or bottoms, and we're like, we can't.
But they love that shit and they call themselves the Scry Top
Yes,
Bottom.
exactly.
Okay.
We've
So
found a similar
Do they
thing
Yeah,
get to
happening.
pick whether a Scry top or a Scry bottom?
Yeah.
Or are they placed into that when they're
They choose for themselves, and I love that for them.
You choose on that trigger.
Yes.
It's part of the announcement, like
And
the
so, like, we, if you're watching and you like us, give us suggestions because we want
Please.
something cute for you. But
Please.
tops or bottoms cannot be it because then I have to explain it to my mom or people who watch us. And it's an experience. So anything
Yeah.
else would be
Waiting
great.
for the next convention where there's a bunch of people with like tops and bottom signs.
Merch and
That
shit.
might be the
Yeah.
next
Oh my
yeah,
god.
merch idea for you.
Yeah, right.
Good.
So we had a very similar thing happen where we call our listeners prospectors. And in one of our episodes, the bloopers at the end, we were like listing off just silly names and just being like, yeah, we'll call them like stupid motherfuckers, you know. And we said one and they latched onto it, and now we just have to say it all the time. And it has stuck.
Wow.
And Mike hates it.
It's my favorite.
The prospect.
No, prospectors
no,
is cute.
it's not
Oh,
Great.
what was the other one?
Crusty dicklings.
Ah, never mind. That's
Yeah.
awesome. You can't make merch of that, I don't think.
We can't. We can't make merch. And
Could we just shouldn't?
Maybe you do like a little goblin.
We
His name's
can't.
Krusty, and then like
No,
it's
yes.
him or something, like a
Interesting.
little something.
That could be. Well, it came about because I used to, and it's not a podcast anymore, but I used to listen to this podcast called If I Were You. Jake and Amir from the College Humor Days had a podcast, and it was a comedy device podcast, and they would call people little dicklings when they were being like a dickhead, but like kind of like sniveling and like, ooh, like I'm being a little dickling. And then in one episode, we had somebody was so salty.
Yeah,
we were
they were,
talking
like,
about how they were
crusty or-
crusty.
We called him a crusty dickling.
Crusted in salt.
And then the patrons heard that and they just started referring to themselves as that. And we were like, well, what are we going to stop them?
Yeah.
I mean, you can't.
Right, Mike?
Do you have the Krusty Dickling meetup at Magic Hall? Like, I don't think that's
Oh,
the
no.
no.
That's the Prospector meetup.
Yeah,
The
okay.
front facing name is
Prospector meetup.
Prospect.
Yes.
Good. Okay.
Mostly we say the other one on our
Patreon
Patreon
episodes.
content.
That is the correct thing, I think.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
But
But I do have a salty story here.
Oh, right.
Oh yeah, what were we talking about? We were on a tangent again. So you guys ready?
Yeah, I'm so ready.
All right.
I love the first line.
Oh yeah, you get to read it over my shoulder now. So this story is titled. Well, this one comes to us from our buddy Jeremy through our website, howlingsaltmine.com or thehowlingsaltmine.com. We are inconsistent with the the. We have a lovely form on there. We are contractually inconsistent with the the. It's in our contract, and we have a lovely form on there. And if you have a salty story, you can. Let me look right down the camera. You can send it to us, and we'll read it on a future episode of the show. Whoops. Oh God. I
That's
clicked
the
away
line
from
of
it.
the
There we
story?
go.
That's a good opener.
Gosh.
I mean, you probably don't have a question in your that we want to talk about, but Lewis single-handedly upped the professionalism of
Oh,
our
yeah.
podcast like 100%.
Everyone
at least,
talks about it.
At least doubled the professionalism
I appreciate you guys.
of the episode.
I've had people thank me that are fans of
Yes,
yours
yeah.
a lot
yes.
about that actually, and it's
It's
really
changed a
funny.
lot.
Yeah. Anyone
show's
that's like
become much
listened
better.
backwards and then gotten to the point that you come on, they're
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
wow.
Like, oh wow.
Yeah.
There wasn't an intro for the show.
There wasn't an outro. There wasn't
an
any
outro,
information
yeah.
on it. Yeah.
At the end, you were like, "What are you guys on Spotify? Hey, you should follow them on Spotify." We were like, "That's a
You're
good
like,
line.
do you guys ask for reviews? Reviews?
Huh? That's a good.
Write that down. Write that
Yeah,
down.
write it
Write that
down.
down. Write that down.
Wait, we should write things down? Good idea.
Okay, I have it here. So this one comes to us from our buddy Jeremy. Thank you, Jeremy. And the story is titled "Party Pooper Card Scooper," and it's a bit of a long one, so let's all buckle into the minecart. And the story goes, "Hello, you salt suckers and pepper puffers. I got an issue with my pod mate, and I hope you can help me out. Let's call them Morbius."
Why Morbius?
Because it's Morbin time, probably.
Morbin Time is a deep cut reference from our show.
I would say I hope it's just their name. Like they didn't change anything.
Quick context, I live in New York City. With life keeping my friends and I busy, what little time we can carve out to gather the pod and cook up some good old trash magic is cherished dearly. Trash magic being high-powered casual. That's what we call it on the show. For us, everything's generally on the table. Infinites, tutors, free spells, proxies, the works. Our pod theory is generally, win how you want, salt is fine, but don't get too butthurt, it's a game. So one night recently, we're jamming some games at our LGS, right? We played for like 4 hours with everybody bagging a win until we come to our last game. I say it's got to be fast though, because my partner and I were going to meet up after and the store was about to close. We all agreed to the terms and pull out some guns. All that matters for this is that I am on Jan Jansen, Chaos Crafter, Artifact Combo, and player 3, Morbius, is on Obeka, Splitter of Seconds. Get fucked first and fourth player, as we like to say.
Yeah.
Sorry, those two others. I pull off to a blistering start, getting Sting, the Glinting Dagger, onto Jan early, which is an untapper, folks. On each player's turn, I'm untapping Jan and making piles of constructs and tokens and treasures, adding to the board. No tutors in this deck. I'm digging honestly for the combo. Players 2 and 4 aren't hitting card draw or removal, but Morbius manages to get a Blood Gift Demon and a hasty Obeka out, trying to draw their way into removal. We all agreed to a quick game. So when Morbius attempts to put an aqueous form on Obeka to make it unblockable, I make a move. I cast Dispatch on Obeka in response, which is an exile with Metalcraft. Morbius looks at their hand and hangs their head. After a big sigh, they say, "It resolves." Obeka's back in the zone. They pass their turn. Player 4 can't kill Jan, which was all I needed. I cast Bolus's Citadel and go down to 1 life to reach my combo with Clock of Omens, ending the game with infinite artifact ping damage off Ingenious Artillerist. Before I can say good game, Morbius has packed all their stuff up and marched off out of the store. Players 2 and 4 and I share a familiar look of not again, because we're used to this behavior. Morbius is no stranger to sequences like casting Heroic Intervention into Armageddon, but will throw a fit and Rage Scoop when they don't win, pretty consistently. They can bake it, but they can't take it, you know? Is that how that phrase goes?
No.
They politic a lot and don't like it when we don't take their deals. The rest of our pod doesn't know how to approach the topic with them because at the end of the day, Morbius is our friend and we'd like to keep playing with them. But the hassle of having to hold a blood moon in hand because we know Morbius might scoop if it resolves is getting on our nerves. How should we handle this? Thanks for the read. I listen to the show on my subway rides to work and I love it every time. I hope to play with y'all someday. Well, thanks, Jeremy. We appreciate it. I bet you didn't think you were going to be on the ScryBabies podcast, did you?
Whoa.
Jeremy's
Surprise.
like, I hate the Scribe.
What's behind her?
So interesting story here. We have it's interesting that it's called Party Pooper Card Scooper because there wasn't really a scoop in the story, but it sounds like there's a scoop element that happens.
Yeah, that's like their style. They're like-
Yeah.
Like they just rush to pack things.
Yeah,
out
they're
instead
just-
Of, yeah.
Or
When they lose,
scooping
they're
to the blood
done.
moon.
Yeah.
Yeah. When they're out of the game, they're out. So we got a group that's playing high power magic, trash magic as we like to call it. Combos are going on, tutors, everything is game. Somebody is just kind of, getting really, really salty with the bad beats and not really matching the vibe of the high power. I feel like when you play high power magic, no holds barred magic, trash magic as it were, you can get salty, but you can't start beef. You can get salty, but you can't hold a grudge.
Yeah. I think the problem is almost a little bit that like they're getting salty for sure, but it's kind of not that bad.
Yeah.
And so it's almost hard because it's like, again, they're saying it's our friend. Like, so it's hard if they're doing that all the time. Like, how do you even have that? Like, how would I come to you and be like,
Right, it's your regular play
yeah, you
group.
kind of like suck a little, and like I still love you, but like I want to play and you're not making it fun. Like,
Right, and it's also a play group, so if you
Yeah.
do it with more than one person, then it feels like maybe that person might take it like as a personal attack instead of feeling like you're coming to them about something, which as an Aries sometimes I can feel like things might be a personal attack, right? So I don't know.
There's definitely something interesting about like in the story, it's almost portrayed like, hey, we're friends, and that's going to make it harder to talk to this person about this because we want to
Yeah.
keep playing them, and like hopefully your friendship with them actually makes it like easier to
Right.
address some of these things. And like I think one tool that you can have in your toolbox for situations like this is like approaching it on their side. Like it's not like, hey, you're getting salty and it's bringing us down and we don't like that anymore. It's like, hey, I've noticed you leave kind of early sometimes, or I've noticed you like really don't like some of the stuff that's happening. Like, what's up with that? Like, is there something we should be doing as a pod that's different that would be like a better
It's
experience
a lot of the
for you?
language that they tell you to use in therapy, where instead of like being like you are doing this, it's like we have noticed, or
Yeah.
I have noticed this, and not being like you have done this, right?
Right.
Because then that gives them a chance to say, I have done this thing, and here's why I've done this thing,
Right.
right?
It's also that point where it's by using that it's very like we need you to play another game and we'd love to play another game.
Yeah.
Like, what up?
Like we want you to be a part of this. I think there's also an element here of like, you have somebody who is playing these really, really high powered cards, but when they're played against them, they're getting frustrated. It almost is like you need to check in and say like, hey, are you really enjoying playing at high powered casual? Is this the experience you want? Because I know it's fun to play those big cards, but when your opponent plays them, you also have to accept that too, because that's like the power level balance. If you're enjoying half the game, but you're not enjoying the half where you lose, like maybe we need to play lower power where these super salty cards aren't coming out. Because you can still do broken things in low power games.
Yes, Sam. Check out that casual episode.
Check out my last episode of ScryBabies. But like, it doesn't have to be that salt inducing, and you can still have that good experience, but not have something that's going to like absolutely take you out, make you pissed off, you know?
I think another interesting part of this story is like dealing with a player that doesn't take no for an answer on politicking. Like, do you guys have
Oh,
any experience with
dude.
that?
Tournaments sometimes.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think that's like where
definitely.
I see it the most,
Definitely
right?
comes out.
Yeah. And that's kind of like a hard line that you have to draw of like a boundary.
Yeah.
Right.
And like, I don't know. I'm bad at politicking. Like, yeah, it just is. So I can't speak too much on that, but I understand what you're saying. Like, it's a weird.
Well, it's a weird vibe because I mean sometimes people just make deals that suck and they're not attractive, and you're like, I'm gonna take that fucking deal. And then if they're gonna get mad at you
Right.
for not
Just
taking
for
that
not
deal,
taking it.
it's like, well, you gotta come with something better, you know? That's not a good deal,
I'm
right?
bad at deals. Oh man, I'll be like, all right, don't attack me, and I'll give you one thing. And they're like, what? Like I'm trying to win the game, right?
Notorious for being like, you wouldn't kill this little creature.
Oh yeah, that's all I
Like,
have. That's literally all I have. I'm like, it's so cute. You like it, right? Like, leave it alone. Or like, it's
Phoenix
just a little
chick.
guy. Yeah. It's literally, it's a little guy. Like, we're worried about it, right? But I try to make it fun instead of
Yeah,
not.
yeah.
yeah, I was also gonna say maybe like it's one of those questions like in this kind of play group with your friends. Sometimes it's gonna be like, hey, do you enjoy playing or do you really enjoy winning? Because if
Right.
you're someone who
Yes.
really enjoys winning games and like, maybe it's like, hey, maybe you should try playing some of like the 1v1 formats where
that
like
too.
the salt,
Totally.
there's still salt, but also it's like I know one reason like I've never competed in a CDH tournament, and I always say I get so salty when I make my own mistakes
Mhm.
in 1v1.
Preach.
And obviously, like, if someone makes a mistake, like it happens, especially in a 4-player game. Like you could be like, I made a really dumb deal, or I didn't play my interaction because I thought this person was bluffing,
Yeah.
and it was a mistake. And now like this person
Everybody else
won,
plays.
and now these two people either lost or like didn't make it. I'm like, sometimes like you get salty because somebody else made a bad decision that affected your game. So
Right.
it sounds like if this person's getting salty for like not just winning all the time, it's like, hey, maybe you should explore other outlets of magic because maybe you could find an avenue where you can still like play the game to win and be upset when you lose, rightfully so. Obviously not be mad,
Yeah.
but still have like that damn I lost, where like you can still play Commander with your friends and it's like there's no stakes here.
But that can also just be a higher power version because they're playing high power. They're not playing CEH, in which, like, in high power, I feel like a lot of people want to win, but they're not only playing to win. CEH is like you're only playing to win, and you're still having a good time and being social. But I feel like in high power, sometimes, like, pretty much all of our games on ScryBabies, except for like the budget things we do, are high power just because that's the amount of time we have. Like we have like an hour to play a game with somebody because we're filming with like 6 people, right?
Yeah.
And so that's not how all of our decks are,
No.
but a lot of the ones for the show are that way. And so I think if you're playing up that mindset, like it'd be cool to win on ScryBabies. Like you come on here, it'd be really cool if you won an episode, right? But like it's also cool to just like play a game. And I think
Yeah.
that's with your play
Mhm.
group too, right? Like it's cool to just play a game at this higher power together. Maybe that person just wants to win, and so maybe 60 card might be their stuff more. Maybe playing tournaments might be their thing more. Maybe playing, competitive as that. Ian, freaking, all he does is play like tournaments all day. Every seat, like every casual deck he has is stupid. It's like a dumb little lasagna baby piece of garbage.
Yeah.
Because
Right.
it's like when I'm here, I want to play something that's fun,
Right.
and I don't want to play something that's like sweaty, salty, whatever. So maybe they just need a different thing.
Yeah.
Different formats can be great. Different avenues, different power levels can be really good. Different avenues for trying to play. I think that would help this person a lot.
Well, what do we think about the salt rating here on this one?
Excellent question, Tony.
Thank you.
This is a tough one. I think this is like an awkward salt because you've come to a point with your pod where you need to sit down and have the talk. And that can be daunting. Even with a good friend, I think that can be daunting. Maybe even harder with a good friend because you don't want to offend them. And I think it's like I don't know. It's sort of an unexpected salt. I don't know if this is like obviously. I mean, if I'm coming at it from Morbius's perspective, it's fucking salty.
Yeah.
Why are these people playing Blood Moon? You know, you're gonna combo off on me? That's fucking bullshit. But
I think I would compare it to like when it's winter and there's like fresh salt out because it snowed and you're wearing like your favorite boots or something. and then they get that like gross, sleety, like
Oh
salty,
yeah,
gross layer
Yes.
on it.
that
And it's like, but these
grinds.
are my favorite boots, and I love my favorite boots, but my favorite boots are just a little dirty right
Right.
now. And so it's either like, can I get that completely clean so I can wear my favorite boots again? Or is it like, these boots just might not be right for me
Yeah.
anymore,
And then,
Right.
right?
I'm not gonna throw them out.
You're not gonna throw them out, but like, how do I make my
I'll keep
boots sit-
wearing them. And
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
It'd be
I'm
nice
gonna
if it
wear them
wasn't
when
like this.
when it's gross out all the time.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. This is why we bring guests on the show, because they get the fucking fresh metaphors.
Yeah.
So,
I'm not saying Morbius is gross. Also, I'm trying to say, like,
Saying
yeah,
hey,
they're rock
Morbius is
salt.
gross.
yeah. They're just having an experience, and like maybe they just need a friend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, I'll say some shit. Sometimes, like, I'm playing with friends and I want to be playing with friends, and sometimes other shit's going on in my head. And maybe I'm having
Yeah.
a bad time. And if I'm having a bad time in real life and I go to play a game, sometimes it happens there, and it shouldn't, right? So
Oh,
maybe
totally.
maybe they're just having a rough time. Who knows?
It could be. Yeah.
Yeah, this is like your, I don't know, like a neighborhood, I want to say like sub shop, but you don't really put salt on subs.
Mhm.
But some people do, right? Sometimes you salt it.
My
Dude,
Jersey
hell
Mix
yeah.
sub has oregano, salt, pepper. Every
Okay,
time.
perfect.
Yeah.
So it's like that, and you've been going a lot for like a long time, and it's always pretty good, but it's like ever so slightly just a little too salty all the time. And you just have to have that conversation with the person behind the counter and be like, can you just like back off
Yeah.
a little bit on that?
You
And we
gotta
can keep having this good thing going there.
I love it
Order
here.
light salt.
Light salt,
Yeah.
please.
You,
Just a
you
little
do have
less.
to say it though, which is
Yes.
the key. Because
Yeah.
I think most of us in life will watch them going at it. We'll just be like, and we won't say anything.
I
So
guess
you
that I'll
gotta
pick
say
that
it.
off after myself.
Like
Yeah.
literally.
I do that at any restaurant. I'm like, yeah, no, it's fine. I'll eat it. I don't care. Like, I
Yeah.
feel too bad, so I get it.
Like maybe if I ask for a different order next week, they'll give me less salt. Maybe if I bring a different deck, they won't be as salty.
They
Nah,
gotta
you
find
just
the
gotta
friend
talk.
in their group who's gonna be like, "Excuse me, they said they wanted less salt."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
He
Maybe
said
a
no
hammer.
pickles.
Yeah. Yeah, you said no pickles.
That's story. That's story for me.
That was a good one.
Yeah,
That was
that's
some good salt. That's like a classic story there. Somebody scooping, somebody getting salt. The play group dynamics, you know?
and like way too many cards that are too much for us to read all of and follow along with, but you
Yeah.
get the gist.
Yeah, you get the gist. You get the gist that there's artifact combos happening. We don't need to read every card.
No,
Yeah.
that's fun. I like that. So if you enjoyed the Howling Salt Mine mini podcast episode, then definitely check out their channel for more. We did have some prospectors in the ScryBabies Discord.
Love
Oh
it.
boy.
Well, we got like two of them that we could talk about. One of them being, you mentioned earlier, Bristly Bill.
Shout out to Bristly Bill.
Tori loves Bristly Bill.
I do
What
love
timing?
Bristly Mill.
Yep.
Bristly Bill's the best. I love. We're friends on Pokemon TCG Pocket.
Love that. Love to see it. So yeah, we have a question from Bristly Bill. Bristly Bill wrote, "Obviously, you have to ask the HSM boys what's gotten them salty lately.
Whew.
What's gotten you salty lately?"
I can go first. I was thinking about this one because I saw the question pop up.
Whoa.
Um,
Cheater.
Yeah, right. Sort of. So the thing that has been getting me salty lately is actually in CEDH. I've found that I haven't been advocating for my own gameplay enough, and I need to talk more. I'd say like a high portion of the last maybe 10 CDH games I've played, something has totally like bricked me out of the game or like completely fucked up the game. And when I look back on it, I'm like, I should have said something, because I play the Prospectors, no, but I play Marath CEDH. I have Sisei deck too, and I'm brewing a couple others, but Marath is like my dedicated fringe deck. Moderator of the Marath Discord. But that commander, because it's damage on a stick, it is like alarm bells go off for people all the time. So if I'm tutoring or if I'm doing stuff, if it seems like I'm setting up a board, it can seem very, very threatening to my opponents. But at the same time, because it is such a removal machine, it's also awesome to have around when an opponent is going for a creature combo, because I can usually stop it. So I've had a lot of instances lately where I'm setting up, or it seems like I have a very powerful board state, because I do, but I'm saving it to stop somebody who's about to win, and someone else gets freaked out and like counters a tutor that I was going to use to set up something, or just stops me.
Interacts with you, like locks
Yeah.
you out, and then another player can just go off.
Exactly. And it makes it so I'm shields down and I can't stop other players, and then someone else goes off and gets the win. So I think something that I've learned, it's sort of like a personal salt of misplaying, is like, I'm not talking enough, and I need to be very obvious. Like, hey, I'm tutoring for the specific thing so I can stop the Kinnan player. Chill,
Yeah.
Or like, I think the board state is scary right now. We're all afraid of Sisay. Let me do this thing and I will be able to take care of Sisay. Because there's just been so many instances where that hasn't happened and I get knocked out and it's a bummer. And then I just ruminate on it for like days,
I do that shit like a week after the
Yeah.
tournament. I'm like, oh my god, I could have said this one thing and
Yeah,
it changed everything.
Yeah.
literally. So that's been getting me pretty salty lately.
I'm going to take a little break from Magic. The thing that's been getting me salty recently is Misty in Pokemon Pocket TCG.
Dude, fuck Misty.
Unless
I'm playing Misty.
Yeah, so the card says you add energy, you flip coins until you get tails, and then you add energy to a Pokemon for each heads you got. And
So gross.
it's been getting me salty on both sides of the table. Like if I play it, it's awful when it's tails, and then if I play against it, it's awful when it's like 6 heads in a row, and
Yeah,
someone just
and it
needs to
always is.
like start one-shotting me. So card games that can be defined by a coin flip are getting me a little bit salty.
Dude, and I had the exact same experience when I played like paper Pokemon TCG. I had something that needed coin flips to deal damage, and every single time I was flipping fucking tails. And I was like, coins suck.
Yeah.
Coins are bad, actually.
I'm
sorry,
like-
Ken Bauman.
I was like,
Coins
Ken's
are
upstairs,
bad.
Yeah,
he's
Ken's
all
right up
about
there.
Faint, yeah.
What's that? I think I'm like just about to turn the corner on being like, okay, I accept this as
Yeah.
part of the game, but I'm not quite there
I'm
yet.
cracking up because I literally beat someone's like Lapras EX deck with 1 pincer because I just kept getting heads and I was like,
Yeah.
unreal,
Yeah.
unreal. And I was like MVP of the game, pincer,
Yeah.
and I'm just like, yeah, my bulk
It's-
common, let's go.
It's so true. It's so brutal.
Tony?
I guess recently the thing that's making me salty is so I used to only play S tier Selvala, that's parlay Selvala in CDH.
Explorer Return.
Yeah, and so now I've been playing Ob. When I played Selvala, they always took my Selvala with Gilded Drake
Yes.
in my fucking pod.
What do they do now?
And now they still always take
Yes.
my fucking Ob, or they're copying it. Like that's the thing that's really getting me. Like other people taking my fucking Ob and using it is starting to irk me.
Oh, I've won
It's
games
such a good
taking
move.
obs for
Oh,
sure.
yeah.
It's
Yeah.
so good. I'm like, I don't have
It's
to
the
have
right
the
move.
negatives of it, and I
Yeah.
could just have a big guy that's really good. Cool.
Yeah,
I can
and
block the other obs and,
and
Yeah.
take
copying
advantage of all the
it,
shit.
copying it's funny too, because like if you're about to go for a win con or something, it's like usually gonna ping everyone down. I'm gonna
For
draw my
sure.
whole deck
And
too.
between that and people just like realizing they shouldn't enable my Ob and give
Right.
me triggers because I'm much more accustomed to just getting things.
I
So
love that.
I feel like between that and my misplays, it's all just about CDH.
Can't let
and,
you have
like,
anything, dude.
yeah.
With Ob, I'm at the point now where I don't let you have shit.
I
I'm
know.
like, take everything away from this man.
which feels like a step probably too far. The pendulum has swung too far, but you know,
Nah, that's fine.
Yeah, it's fine.
Thanks, Bill.
Do you have anything that makes you salty?
Yeah.
I do. It's me not being good at Magic right now makes me salty.
Yo, literally, I feel you.
I have a fun salty story, but I think it'll be good on your podcast.
Hell
Save
yeah.
it, save it.
Returning
Save
guests
that,
coming
save
soon.
Hell yeah.
I don't know what makes me salty right now. Everything I'm going to say, I'm like, it's the economy, which is like not where we're at, right?
Too real.
Oh, and Magic, it's not salty. What makes me sad is the barriers to entry at local game stores.
Yeah.
Ooh,
And
yeah.
so, like, I've been having a lot of conversations about that globally for like CCC stuff for CDH and stuff. And just like, it's rough. And I really just want to find ways to, like, I don't know, make it more accessible for people. And, like, especially for CDH to, like, show people that it can be fun and, like, not
Yeah.
have this boogeyman. And, like, hearing so many people talk about it being, like, this, like, negative thing is, like, I'm trying not to be, like, pissy about it because I know it could be so exciting, right? So that's making me, like, a little salty. But it's more about, like, it's rough and I would like it to be a better space and I would like people to not feel salty about it.
Right.
So I'm trying to
For
make
sure.
it, you know.
We talk about it all the time. Like the worst thing that shows up in the salty stories is when like you can tell it's a new player. Like someone's
Right.
like, I went to something for the first time and this happened.
Yeah.
And those are the worst things because like those are the people you should be fostering their engagement with the format. Like you should be encouraging them to do stuff like sometimes throw them a win. You know, like there are things that are okay to do with a new player that people do not do.
I do that with Ian.
Yeah.
He never lets me win. We're playing a new board game. I'm like, just let me win. I'm the girl. Let me have the boyfriend who loses first. That's what makes me actually salty, is when Ian doesn't let me win in a game that's supposed to be fun and it's not competitive, even though I'm very competitive. That's why.
I'm like Ian.
Yeah.
I'm competitive with everything.
Yeah,
That's why
yeah.
my wife and I play cribbage, because you can only get so competitive in cribbage.
Oh, yeah. We have an Ascension League. It's like out of control right now.
Oh, I bet.
Yeah.
When the Clue thing came out for like Karlov Manor this year, Steve and I played it together, and he solved the clue within like one round because he was like, "Yeah, I was able to lie to you and then deduce what was in the thing because like I had cards and you didn't, and you can't lie to me in this game." And I literally was like, "I'm not playing this anymore. Okay, this was supposed to be fun. You metagamed it, and now I'm pissed, and I don't want to play anymore."
And the CDH thing is really interesting, Lua, because we hear that a lot as well. Like Mike was talking about new player experiences, but we also hear those boogeyman stories about CDH. People like, I went to my local game store. This person came in with a CDH deck and pub stomped us. And something that I'm very proud of with the show is that we've been able to like clear up a lot of the language around that and be like, personally, I feel that pub stompers aren't real CDH players. If you're
Right.
playing a CDH deck against a casual deck, you're doing it wrong, and you're choosing to create a game experience that is not what any CDH player would really want.
Right.
Like I don't gatekeep this instance. I feel like it. I will put the gate up and
Yeah.
say pub stompers aren't actual CDH players. If you're playing against a pub stomper and they have a CDH deck, they're just trying to
Just
give you
do
an
it.
unpleasant
Yeah.
experience.
And sometimes it's not even a CDH deck. It just has
Yeah.
a lot of those cards.
Right.
It's just the
And
hallmarks
that's a
of
big
it.
piece.
Yeah.
But we're one of the things that's cool about our show is that we've gotten so many people into CDH because we talk about it like that, and because we had this kind of slow ramp up with our love of CDH that has happened over the course of the show, and our listeners sort of start to have that with us as they listen to it, because we most we don't really grind tournaments. We mostly just come at it because we love it. We love the card interactions, the high octane play and stuff. And I think people can hear that it's like fun and hear that passion. They're like, well, I like having fun. And then they check it out. But like you read about stuff online and it seems like CDH is such an awful, sweaty format because there's so much toxicity out there. And the reality is that it's very, very fun. It's a great way to hang out with your friends.
I actually wanted to touch on the last thing that Bristly Bill said, is that y'all are finishing up a CDH league for your patrons,
Yeah.
and you're in the midst of your holiday deck exchange. So they just wanted to kind of get like touch base and talk about being a part of and running community events, which I think y'all do a lot. So just like anything you want to share about that.
Well, first of all, shout out to Void Walker, our champ.
5-0, 5-0 sweep of the league.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes.
With Grixis Malcolm.
Wow.
Absolute
Or
champ.
as he says, Malcolm and a random random
Random
Rakdos
Rakdos
commander.
But yeah, shout out to Voidwalker for that. That was a really cool one because our patrons pulled that tournament together, or the league. They wanted to do it, and we were like, "We'll give you guys space. We'll support it. We'll do a little prize support too." And that was really fun. For the deck exchange, this is our second year doing it. The first year we had 33 participants, and it's all $50 decks, and built across a variety of power levels. Some people build like sweaty combo, like I like to do. Some people build more just like lower power battle cruiser. And we really modeled it after a lot of the deck exchanges out there. So people fill out forums and whatnot. And this year we have 76 people in it, which is pretty crazy. And it's a lot of work to organize, but it's just so fun. People get like the excitement that people in the community have to build and send out a deck.
Yeah.
It's
It's more
more
than-
their excitement to receive a deck by so much.
Yeah, large factor.
Yeah.
And people do all sorts of fun things. Like, I got these little dink. What is it? Dinky?
Dink?
What is that?
Oh, Shrinky Dinks.
Shrinky dinks. I got these shrinky dink like salt shaker +1/+1 counters that were like tattoo
Yeah.
art style. That were super
Those are sick.
from like what I received from one of the patrons, and
Yeah.
like he got these custom sleeves for mine, and that happens like across the board for all these different people.
Yeah.
And so it's like super fun to see what people do, and that it's just like cool. It's very like heartwarming.
Yeah. And just the decks and the passion that people put in. Like we send out the deck pairings, and so many people brew the deck that day
Wow.
because they're chomping at the bit.
Yeah.
And then they just play test it for like all the time I'm brewing. They're just play testing the list and like tweaking it.
Look bad.
Yeah.
It takes a while before I put my deck list
Yeah.
together.
But it's a lot of fun. I think one of the coolest things about having this podcast is the community that has risen up around it. We just have like a really, really amazing, loving, accepting community. It's unbelievable. Like you go in the Discord and it's just all positive vibes. We have space for people to talk about any hobby that they want, pretty much any card game, like, you know, photography, comic books, anime,
Legos,
show their
like,
pets,
whatever the
all these different things. We've
Every
been
time I
area.
turn around, there's a new channel, but
Yes.
it's getting used. Like
It's
that's
getting
the thing.
used,
It's not
yeah.
just like dead channels.
Yeah, they
It's
ask for
just
stuff,
like-
and we, you know,
Yeah.
we
Right, you
get
just
you. We
make
do the
it.
same stuff too.
You know, we even have space for like people to talk about their mental health and stuff, and which is it's just so cool to see the prospectors supporting each other and like loving each other in that way. When you know, if they've never met, they've just played like a few games together, and almost every night there's a pod going now with pickup games. We do monthly Patreon game nights where we jam with the prospectors. We get like 40 plus people now
I love
every time
that.
we do
That's
that.
great.
Yeah.
It's wild. It's very, very humbling and just so cool. Like we always talk about how we make our content for everybody. We really make the content for that core group of patrons and
Well,
prospectors.
that's a
Like
thing I'd
we
like to
want
touch
them
on
to love it.
too. Like when you start your podcast, like Tony was saying, this is something that he got to do with his friends and to keep in touch
Yeah.
with and do it. Same thing like when we started, we were like, yeah, maybe we'll put out a few episodes, see how it goes, and then it blew up, right?
Yeah.
And that's like,
yeah, we were like, we're gonna release an episode a month.
no,
We'll film it in the kitchen.
for everybody, you start something because it's something you're not seeing out there, right?
Yeah,
There's tons
yeah.
of podcasts about Magic, tons of podcasts like or tons of gameplay for Magic, right? But we wanted to create something that we felt like we didn't see represented, and you create something that wasn't talked about or represented in your community too, right? And so the shows are for us. We started it for us, and
Yes.
then as we progress, it's like okay, it's for our fucking patrons who like
Yeah.
really just like without like our patrons and our fans and our supporters that are like there. There's no way we would be able to like continue doing this and like bringing you guys out here, feeding you on set, like the things that they do for us
Yum.
make it so we can make these episodes
Snacks.
possible, right? And of course, like I spilled my soda.
Oh no.
Of course, like sponsors and things will help with that too. But like, it's really important that like, yes, you can do all this stuff for free by liking, commenting, subscribing, doing all
Yeah,
that, leaving
totally.
reviews. Like that helps us so much to those patrons. Like even the dollar helps so much, right? It's just getting visible eyes and interaction in your community. And with that, like I think for year one for us, we did a lot of community building online. We were on like Discord every night doing like crazy amounts of stuff. And year two, it was a lot more in-person stuff, a lot of more in-person Magic Cons, Command Fest events, like things
Oh,
like this,
yeah.
where I feel like we didn't really have that physical, like we had a physical community year one. We went to Magic Con, we met people, it was big, right? But year two, it's grown so much where I feel like we haven't been able to be online as much because we've been moving and like things have been happening. Year three, a big goal for us is I want to make sure we can keep both balanced. And it's hard to keep both balanced when
It
like
is.
you want to be in person, you want to be online, you have a regular job, you're working for the channel, you have other things, right? So it becomes a lot. So for my question, I guess for you guys is like, what are your big goals for next year with the podcast? We each have our own goals, but if there's something that you unanimously want to do together or something you each have, I'd love to hear just like some goals.
I don't have a super specific one, so I'll give these guys time to think of something as I go. But I think one thing that we've consistently done is like try to expand and like push what we do. You know, like we do this. This is what we do. We started the Patreon and we were like, okay, well, we'll do other episodes. We'll do Extra Salt where we talk about like other random things and we branch it out. And then like we've done a couple off the rails episodes that are like not even Magic related. And I think that's
And they're sick.
like
They're
I don't
all
even
Dragon
have
Ball
a
Z related.
specific yeah, for now they're all Dragon Ball Z related. But I don't even have like a specific goal yet for the next year, I think. But the overall goal is another new thing. Like keep pushing, try to do something different. You know, we're all like creative in this space. Like there's something that we get out of like trying to do another thing that we haven't done before. So something like that, as well as a bunch of conventions. I think that's the other
Yeah.
one.
For sure.
I have two things. And I realized in this moment that you're asking this because it's about to be a new year, which feels crazy.
I know.
Uh,
Yeah, when it
Cause-
comes out, it
True.
is the new year, but it's about for us to be the new one, right?
I think the first thing for me is I want to personally be more active in our Discord because I had like an insane year where a lot of crazy shit happened. And so like I'm not gonna
Valid.
go into that, but it's like I have been very not active in our Discord, and like that's a thing for me personally that I want to do. And I think the second thing that I have to figure out how to do this, but like I feel like Sam does a lot right now, and there's so much that
I
we
do it all.
want. There's so yeah, like in essence, and like there is a lot of creative things that we talk about wanting you to do and having like more of
Yeah.
your time set for that. So it's like finding a way to take some of the administrative stuff off and like actually assign it, and like I'll do more of those types of things, but like figuring out what that is, what like the balance is right now, because right now you get to control all of it, so that has its benefits, but it limits your like ability to do some of these other things
Yeah.
that are again just more on the art. Like I can't draw shit. I'm never gonna like be doing that. That's not my skill set. And
I saw
so
your proxies at Glarb, dude. Those
They
are
were
good.
good. The
That
Dosen,
Dosen.
the
the
dozen,
Dosen
that
kinda
dozen,
slap.
that dozen, baby.
Yeah.
But so I think for me, those are like things that I can control that I would want to do for next year.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean I agree with what these guys are saying. Like adding another piece of content would be fantastic. Like I would love to produce more. We in the past, it was funny at the start of 2024, we were like, this is going to be the year that we roll out our D&D show because we've had a concept for a D&D show. And
We should talk after this. I have some things that we could do. Okay, continue.
and like Tony said, it was just a crazy year. I mean, you know, he had a really insane year. I had a really insane year with my wife being pregnant and having a baby and stuff. And those things just get away from you. And I think like I would love to look back on those and those intentions we had last year and see if we could do it this year.
Yeah.
I'd love to do more live shows, like you mentioned.
Definitely.
Yeah,
We
the Magic
we
Con one, I didn't even get a
The
chance to talk
Magic
did
about
our
that.
Con.
first
Yeah.
live show at MagicCon Las Vegas. It was a smashing success. Our fans loved it.
Packed room.
Act room.
Yeah.
Smashing success.
Like some Nigel Thornberry in there. Smashing. And I mean, it was amazing for us too, because like, you know, we're in the Discord, like Tony said, he hasn't had a ton of time to engage in the Discord. I'm unemployed, or rather, I'm self-employed. I work on the podcast, so I'm in the Discord all fucking day, so I can just chat with people constantly. And one of the things that you guys can do that I really can't do is play games with the patrons constantly, which that just deserves a little shout out. But like, just where the fuck was I going with this? It would just be great to have more time to invest in all of those things. And like right now we're kind of capped out at how much we can do, or we're close. So a lot of it is finding like efficiencies. Like one of the things I used to do was hand draw tokens for our patrons at certain levels, which was tons and tons of fun. But when it got to the point where I was drawing over 50 tokens a month, I was like, this isn't really attainable anymore. And when I had a baby, I was like, well, now all my free time is spoken for. And like when that stuff happens, the focus goes on the basics, which is produce the podcast.
Right.
Get episodes out every
Right.
week. We haven't missed a week yet.
Yeah.
That's easily a continuing goal, but
And we plan to never can miss a week. But so I think a lot of it is finding efficiencies, like things Tony's talking about, like starting to delegate more, but also just doing a better job at what we're currently doing to make it happen faster. Like we started recording podcasts in person, and first of all, the vibe is incredibly fun when we do that.
like this is
I
awesome.
know we
Yeah,
said
like
this would be like
this.
45 minutes. We'll be here for like 2 hours.
Yeah.
Oh, yikes. Sorry.
But-
Sorry,
No,
Dan.
you guys, it's good vibe. We like it.
I'm apologizing to the editor,
it's
not to
hard,
you.
Yep.
But it's also way easier to edit our live episodes because I get, you know, when we record over Zoom, there's like, we talk over each other. There's delays and stuff. So there's a lot of like fine tune editing that I have to do. That just isn't possible with in-person recording because you get like cross mic bleed. So that has been an efficiency. We've redone our higher Patreon tiers to, we have a token club similar to how y'all have, but we have been taking that and making like expanding on it so people can get tokens that have gone by in prior months. So there's a lot of things that we're finding where we can like still give a great benefit but do it more efficiently on our side, and that opens up more time to invest deeper on the show and other areas.
Right. The creative
Produce more
pieces, the
content.
Yeah.
things that are going to be like more interesting.
That's a
More-
hard balance to figure out too, because when you
Definitely.
start, you
Yeah.
want to put out as much stuff to get people invited, but people really just like sometimes they're like, I don't care about the merch. I just want to like hang out with you guys in
Oh,
Discord, or like
yeah.
do stuff, right? So figuring out what they want is like the biggest and like hardest thing, I think.
And sometimes you have an idea and you're like, this is a fun idea. And then you hit a point where you're like, oh, but it's not sustainable,
Right.
or it's not scalable. Like
Right.
this is interesting, but once 10 people have signed up for this tier, it becomes a big task to
Right.
fulfill it. So
Or, I mean, we stopped doing stickers because the cost of it was so high for us. But like,
For sure.
she's
The
drawing.
cost of the stickers was like, I don't want to say it wasn't worth it. It was just like, with the cost increase and the amount of patrons that were at that tier, we were like, let's just give them something more personal. Like, I'll just draw tokens and we'll do this token, like, set up here.
Right. Like,
And
we'll
this
change
down here.
things.
And we'll make our stickers like con exclusive things. If you see us, you get us.
yeah.
You get
Yep.
one there. And then it's also like the consistency too with stuff like that. Cause you'll have these like really awesome game nights, or, like in our Discord, we try to have like, we used to have game nights bi-weekly or community night where we deck build and stuff. And it's great every time we do it. But then it's like, oh my God, this week I have, the doctor, and then I have to go to do this and then do
Yeah,
that.
totally.
And then like, we both have like basically full-time jobs outside of this. And like
Right.
mine's a 9 to 5. By the time 6 o'clock rolls around, I'm like, I don't want to talk to anyone.
Right.
I'm
Yeah.
going to bed. Well, yeah,
That's
so you're just
why-
like, I don't want to talk to anybody. Lights are off.
Yeah.
Watching Netflix, laying in bed, Bridgerton on, eyes closed,
Yeah.
done.
That's why I think like that's a big goal for us next year, is trying to figure out like the right balance, and like we changed some tiers around too. Like I know you all
Yeah.
said, so we're working on it because we love our patrons. We want to hang out there, and it's just
Yeah.
it's especially with like when the world is exhausting, it's hard to like get on.
Totally.
For sure. Yeah. I mean, it's all about like trying to provide that experience that is something you would want, but
Yeah.
also something the patrons would want, but it's sustainable. And when it's sustainable, it's good.
We're
When
still
it's
grateful.
draining, it's
Right.
not.
Yeah.
Like you're producing worse stuff when you're exhausted,
And
and it's a lot of.
I think because you're so grateful, you want to give them as much as
Totally.
possible.
Yeah.
And then when it's not sustainable, when it in that way of like a monetary item or something else, it's like, well, I can do that in other ways.
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's
And
about
like-
the balance.
Like Sam mentioned, like Tony and I get to play with the patrons a bit. We both played in the CDH league that just ran, and like I have personally gotten really used to the fact that like whenever I want to play CDH now, there is a group of patrons that is
Yeah.
willing to play.
Oh,
And
that's
like
so nice.
finding ways where like, we're putting things into the community, sure, but like we get a lot out of it at this point.
I agree.
So, and
much,
that
for
part
sure,
is
for
is
sure.
really cool to see, of like, sure, sometimes like, trying to keep up with all the messages, maybe that's draining, but like when you get, an opportunity to actually spend time with people that like get it in the
Yeah.
way that you want to get in a game, it's awesome.
I didn't expect to have impact on people, to be totally honest.
Crazy
it's not
feeling,
a thing that I
right?
like thought. And
Yeah.
like at Vegas, there's a few different people that I met that was the case for. And like one person in particular who just was kind of like, I have had, a really shit time in the past few months, and like HSM has been a place I can go. And it's nice. And I was like, we were both basically crying. And I was like, I just had a weird shitty year too, man. And I don't know what's going on, but this is great. And it's
Yeah.
it's like crazy to think that this little thing that we decided to do for fun, like, I don't know, is an escape for people. And it's like
Yeah.
a cool thing.
When you get to meet those people in person at a convention, like we talk to our patrons almost every single day, and there's like a core group of people. It's a big core group now that are very active, and they chat all the time. And then you meet those people and they're like, hey, like I'm Steve, and you're like, huh? And they're like, oh, I'm so and so, and you're like, oh, from the Discord.
Yeah,
Fuck,
with the
like,
Discord
dude,
name, I got
we
you. by the
talk
Discord
every
name.
day.
Yeah.
Like it's you form relationships, and it's just, I don't know. It's just it's a humbling experience. It's super, super cool. Love the prospectors.
What a wholesome end to this very magical episode, but with our really good friends at the
Wow.
Howling Salt Mine.
Thanks
You
for having
guys.
us.
Yeah,
Thanks so
thank
much.
you.
This was super fun.
We filmed a bunch of really cool games with them. We're doing some cool stuff with them on their podcast as well. So you'll get a lot of salty goodness. I don't know if that's a good word.
You'll get that salty goodness,
You'll get that
baby.
salty goodness.
treat.
Get
What's
that.
the ScryMine? No, the
The Scrine.
Salt, baby.
salt
Baby mine.
No, that's a movie, right? Oh, no, Saltburn.
The Salty
Salt top,
baby.
baby bottom mine.
The
Salt top.
The best collab of all
No.
time. But if you do want to follow Mike, Sam, Tony, that's hard for me to say. All their information is going to be in the description down below. We'll, of course, include their website and the podcast and ways to listen. And yeah, thank you for coming out and doing this with us.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Yep. And to support us, you can leave an easy like, comment, thumbs up, 5-star, whatever thing you're on. You can give us a cool rating. or comment. It's free. It helps us.
You
Helps
can
you.
literally do it for free, and you do for the Howling Salt Mine too.
I was say, if you do it for us, do it for them.
Yeah,
That's
Yeah,
right.
true.
We all have cool merch on our bonfire stores.
We do.
Check them out. Another fun way to support us. They're wearing their cool stuff. We got our cool new sweatpants on. Yeah, I think that's everything. And we'll see you next time.
Stay salty.
Stay baby.
No.
Stay baby.